Oftentimes at work, we're asked to support a business decision that we don't necessarily agree with. And companies will not only ask you how you've handled these situations in the past, but how you might handle it in the role you're interviewing for. In this video, we're going to deep dive into a very thorough answer to this question, tackling it from the hypothetical perspective. And specifically, we're going to answer it like we're interviewing for a TPM role, a technical program manager role at Google, focused in augmented reality. And it's really going to be important that you look at the overall and broader concepts that we're going to tackle during this answer that would apply to any role, things like communication, stakeholder management, risk mitigation, resource allocation, etc. So let's dive right in. As always, let's imagine our fake interviewer is Sue, and she asked me the following question: Jeff, how would you support a business decision that you don't agree with? Sue, thanks so much for the question. Before diving in, I'd like to ask a few clarifying questions. I want to understand, would this decision require reassigning team members from existing projects to the new focus area? A few other questions I might have is, I really want to know, has this decision been 100% finalized by senior leadership, or is there still room for discussion? Now, I'd also be curious whether the cross-functional teams, including like product managers and Eng, are aware of this decision. And then, are we focusing this decision to be more aligned with our long-term strategic objectives, or this is being driven by something external like a client need? Okay, let's dive in. A few items we might want to consider before solving are, we're absolutely thinking about overall communication and correlation, stakeholder management. We want to think about risk mitigation and then the change management associated with that. We're going to be thinking about how we're allocating those resources. Project prioritization is going to be really important. And then just making sure that we have overall really strong and good transparency. So before solving, let's make a few assumptions. Let's assume that senior leadership has decided to reallocate resources from our current AR core development to maybe a new, more enterprise focused solution. And this is going to impact our engineering teams across the US specifically. And the decision was made, let's say, without really consulting more of the individual contributors at the product manager and engineering level. And so let's also make one additional assumption that maybe the impact is going to maybe put some stress on client relationships. So I think a good starting point would be absolutely starting from that communication and stakeholder management side of things. How does that sound? Okay, let's dive in. So focusing in on these items is critical, especially if I'm coming in and I don't really agree with this business decision as a TPM. So my first step is really to understand the rationale behind this decision as thoroughly as possible. So I would do that by scheduling a meeting with senior leadership to gain insights into the strategic objectives that are really driving the change, and be talking a little bit about market opportunities and or competitive advantages that this new initiative might offer. Once I have a clearer understanding, I would definitely develop a detailed communication plan to convey this decision to all the affected and impacted stakeholders. And that could be anybody from Eng to product to designers, and absolutely these existing clients that we're working with as well. This communication should also be tailored to address specific concerns of each group. So for maybe engineering teams, it's going to be talking about how their roles are going to evolve and how their responsibilities might change over time. And for our clients, for example, I would coordinate with maybe their account executives, account managers, to ensure that we provide transparent updates about how the shift could affect their project timelines and or deliverables. And we may need to negotiate new timelines or offer alternative solutions to meet their needs. In terms of stakeholder management, I would want to facilitate meetings between product managers, engineering leads, and senior leadership to discuss the implications of the decision. And hopefully this approach would ensure that all voices are heard and we can collectively strategize on how we would implement this change with minimal disruption. So I think we hit a good stopping point. I think next we could focus a little bit more on risk mitigation and change management, but do you have a preference to discuss anything else? Okay, let's dive into those areas. So, for risk mitigation, I would definitely conduct a comprehensive risk assessment to identify how this decision might impact current and ongoing projects, particularly those involving existing clients within our AR core deliverables. Risk could include project delays, decreased product quality due to maybe some restructuring, and potential loss of client trust. So, to mitigate these risks, I would propose a phased transition plan where critical milestones for existing projects are completed fully before we reallocate those resources. And alternatively, I could suggest bringing in some temporary staff, like temporary contractors, to help maybe with the less critical resourcing items to ensure that client commitments are met without compromising the new initiative staffing needs. Regarding change management, I would implement a structured approach to help teams adapt to the new focus. This includes organizing training sessions for team members to get up to speed with the requirements of the enterprise focused AR solution. I would also update all the project documentation to reflect the new roles, responsibilities, and of course the timelines. We gotta also absolutely have regular check-ins and feedback loops to make sure we're monitoring how the team's adapting to the change. And then this would help ensure that any issues are identified early and addressed promptly. And it would also foster probably a better environment where team members felt comfortable voicing their concerns, especially those who, like me as a TPM, may not necessarily agree with the decision. So I think let's kind of start to round things out and talk a little bit more about success metrics or outcomes. But would you like me to double down on anything I've mentioned before or anything I mentioned earlier? Okay. Establishing clear success metrics and outcomes is obviously essential to making sure that we hit all of our goals and targets. And so I would absolutely have to define these KPIs that align with both the new initiative's goals and our existing commitments. And for this new solution, metrics might include like time to market for the new product, adoption rates, absolutely by enterprise clients, and revenue generated within a specific time frame. So for ongoing projects that are affected by the resource shift, metrics could include client satisfaction scores, really strong adherence to revised timelines, and just making sure that we're double checking the quality benchmarks for these deliverables. I would set up dashboards and regular reporting mechanisms to track these metrics, ensuring that transparency with both the team and senior leadership is ideal. And if the data shows positive trends and reinforces the validity of the decision, then we can keep moving forward. If not, it provides an evidence-based platform to discuss adjustments and or alternative strategies. And by focusing on these measurable outcomes, I can support the decision that I don't necessarily agree with by moving towards tangible results. I think we've hit a good stopping point, but I'm happy to discuss any of the concepts that I mentioned before diving into the solution or double down in any of the areas that we just discussed. And that's it. As always, these answers in the YouTube videos, they're built and intended to be robust so you can see what a really thorough answer would sound like. For anyone facing this challenge, having smooth transitions and always steering this kind of project, initiative, whatever it is, towards success will be critical items you're going to want to explore with your interviewer. So if you found this video helpful, please like, comment, and if you haven't before, consider subscribing so you'll never miss another one of these really robust Q&A videos. Thanks so much.